It is Tuesday morning, the 30th of July. What? What is happening here? Where's our summer? Is it gone? It's gone. I'm first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We're going to be talking all about our local forecast, and we'll be chatting about the tropics as well. Lots of stuff to get to, but before we get into any of that messy tropical nastiness, let's just take a live look outside, see what's doing on our Tower Cam network, shall we? Beautiful morning. Sun coming up through some high, thin clouds. This is Ocala. Good morning to you, my friends. You are looking mighty fine. Let me get you over to Tavares, see what's doing. Also, some high, thin clouds, not a problem whatsoever. Over to the tourist district, see what's doing there. Swan, Dolphin, Riviera. Yeah. It almost, am I crazy? I feel like it almost looks like a winter's morning, but not like a clear winter morning, more like a, front is on its way type morning. Some Saharan dust in the area. That much you could be for sure. Live look over at the Orlando International Airport Tower Cam. Not looking too bad there. Speaking of the Orlando International Airport, let's check out the flight status board. Just, okay, all right. 9 delayed flights, 0 cancellations. I'll take that. Looking good. All right, over to downtown Orlando. How you do? Oh, it's pretty. Definitely can tell there's that Saharan air layer in place, right? What camera is this? This is our other downtown tower cam. Looking nice. Port Canaveral. Kennedy Space Center. Looking good. Did just have that ULA launch this morning before 7 a.m. from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station side. It was lovely. And then last but not least, let's head over to see what's doing. New Smyrna Beach. Looking over to the Halifax. It is a pretty, pretty morning. Yeah. All right. Good morning, my friends. We have made it to another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Our first morning live Doppler radar. Scanning and finding a little bit of rain up here north and west of our area. Nothing big, but out around Cedar Key, some rain. It is what it is. 80 degrees right now in Orlando. It is 79 in Leesburg, 75 degrees in Ocala. Forecast today does get back to showers and thunder showers, much like yesterday, much like the day before. Not a bad forecast at all, but a day that we're going to have some rain. And I also want to apologize for missing Coffee Talk yesterday. It was the last day of summer. Now I'm back to work today, and then the kids and everybody go back to school next week. So had to try to maximize that moment. All right. All right. Any questions about our forecast today? Here's the high temperatures. We'll start there and then we'll get into future casts, see what's doing, right? Highs in the low to mid 90s. Not a bad one at all. In terms of rain chances today, let's take a look. Here's future casts. 12, 12:30, 1 o'clock, a couple of popcorn showers around, right? Going a little more widespread, 3 o'clock, and then 4, 5, 6 o'clock, everything wants to move off to the west. That's the short range future cast. Here's the longer range future cast. Oh, you hear my neck pop? Let's see here. There's some rain out east and then kind of bubbling up metro area off to the west. All right, so they're pretty much in agreement. So in terms of today's forecast then, the overall coverage map, basically metro off to the west is where we're going to see the rainfall. I have a splitting headache. These kids, when they scream, it just bops my head. All right. Any questions about that whatsoever? Local forecast. We've got the rain timing. We've got the coverage. Anything at all? Are we good? Are we good? All right. To the tropics we go then, and we can spend a whole lot of time talking about the tropics. All right. Tropical satellite imagery. Let's just start off here. Actually, you know what? Let's start here. I've got a point to make. All right. Here's the satellite approaching the Antilles. You see in the bottom left corner, development 0%, 2-day, 60%, 7-day. Let's just hide that for a minute. Just take a look at what's there right now. There's like the broadest of swirl. Hold on. There's nothing going on out here, okay? Nothing. Like nothing. Now, if I were to take the satellite and tweak its sensitivity, you can see there's something there. But there is no tropical development out there. None right now. None. None, nada, nothing. Literally no tropical development out there. Visible satellite presentation. There's some clouds. Period. Not too much coffee. Probably not enough water, but not too much coffee. All right. So anyway, that's back. So when we talk about tropical development, yes, the National Hurricane Center says there is a 60% likelihood of tropical development out here. But there is nothing there. Okay? So, the thing about this is models are wonderful because it gives us the opportunity to look way out there and see if something kind of develops out of nothing. And that's kind of where we're at here. Speaking of that, let me tweet this because not everybody's watching the coffee talk. And while we're sitting here chatting, I can shoot out a tweet. Hold on a second. You get to see the sausage made on TV. You get to see the sausage made on Twitter. New outlook. Still going with a medium chance of tropical formation near the Bahamas late this week. Let's keep tabs. I'm live on Coffee Talk right now discussing. Join us. And then spell formation correctly. Okay. Just for those people that are not on the Coffee Talk, okay? Just for those people. Frank says well above medium. 70% is high. So 60% still medium, son. Back off, Burris. All right, so that's where we're at. This is not a cone, so let's make sure we know what we're looking at here. Basically, this is where the storm is, or the area of low pressure, or the area of interest. Okay? This line is where it's moving. We don't expect any formation on the line. Once it gets to this polygon here, that's the corridor that the Hurricane Center says has the 60% chance of formation. So just so that you know what you're looking at every time you see this graphic, it's not a cone. It's just saying this is the area that we think it will form. Could be down here, closer to the straits. Could be all the way out here, halfway between Florida and Bermuda. All right. It's really hard to forecast these weak tropical cyclogenesis type events. Okay, so I've been posting the models. I took yesterday off because I needed to do the dad thing. But I'll be back to posting stuff today as I'm back to work today. But, you know, it's important to follow things here because as these paths work through, it could be an impactor for us. Could be heavy rain, could be, you know, whatever. So let's do this. Let's take a minute and let's dial up raw model data. Okay. And let's just see what it says. All right. This is the raw GFS model. All right. Mean sea level pressure, normalized anomaly. So orange is high pressure. The blues and greens and purple, that's low pressure. So first off, let's just pause this. This is about 24 hours from now. This is tomorrow morning. You've got the system approaching Puerto Rico. See it there above where it says forecast high 90. But you also see the oranges. That's the Bermuda high. Okay. Bermuda high holding it south. Weaker storms tend to go west. So that's kind of the idea, the interesting idea here. All right. So following it, it doesn't really do much. There it is north of Cuba, kind of riding over Cuba or into the Straits. And then, according to the GFS, by about Monday the 5th, hanging around. Where are you going? Becoming a hurricane and going to Texas. That's what you're doing. Wouldn't that just be a pain in the neck? So there's that. Don't really see that happening. but we'll go with it for now. All right, so that's the current run of the GFS. If we go back a run, it was kind of going into like Galveston. If we go back 2 runs, kind of going in around anywhere from, oh man, like Grand Isle back over to the mouth of the Mississippi. So somewhere along the Gulf Coast, if we go back 3 runs, coming in around, around Louisiana, back over to Mississippi, Alabama, Gulf Shores area. All right, so that's what the GFS the last few runs have been showing. Let's switch over to the GFS ensemble. And the ensemble kind of gives you the idea of where it's thinking. So the GFS ensemble, anywhere from about the Gulf Coast all the way, from about, eastern Louisiana all the way through Florida, but not huge signals, right? But there's definitely some indicators there. All right, so that's the GFS. If we go back 1 ensemble run before, the ensembles were going more west. If we go back 2 ensemble runs before, it was more east. 3 ensemble runs before, it was all east of us. So the GFS is not locked in. Why has it not locked in yet? Because there's nothing there. So anybody that says, oh, we've locked in on an idea, they're out to lunch. That's just not the case. There's no locking in. You don't have an area of low pressure. So models are just kind of trying to they're trying to figure it out. Their eyes are closed because there's nothing to see, and they're just reaching for scraps. So there's that, okay? All right, let's switch over, look at the European model now, okay? There's the European, sloppy mess, getting into the Bahamas. That's as far as the current 6Z run goes, so I have to go back to the 0Z. Sloppy mess basically over Florida, okay? So the European is weak, which is good, but it's bringing us a really crummy wet weekend. And then kind of working up into the Gulf Coast or into the Carolina coast. Now this makes a little bit of sense because we know this is like the Gulf to Carolina part of the pattern, so it's going to want to find that like passageway. All right, so there's that. But the European would give us a kind of a crummy weekend. If we go back to the 12Z was stronger off the East Coast. The 0Z, which is the current run of the longer Euro, is a little further to the west and weaker. Weaker goes west. There's one thing I teach you when it comes to tropics, weaker goes west. And right now, since there's nothing, that's so perfect. It's pin the tail on the donkey, Cheryl says. That's absolutely what tracking the tropics is with computer models. Because again, I show you that in the bottom left corner, but like, let's go back to the satellite for just one moment. It's pin the tail on the donkey because you're blindfolded or you just don't have anything to see, right? Like that's the satellite imagery. And I've turned this on the most sensitive setting. It's like me as a teenager. It's seeing everything and it's reacting to everything, right? There's just not much there. There's a little piece of vorticity. There's a little piece of energy, but there's just not much to it. So computer models are not going to be good. There's not. So anyway, so European showing that. All right, so that's the deterministic European. Let's go back and let's look at the ensembles. And with systems like this, ensembles really are the best way to go. All right, so European ensembles are very clearly showing east of Florida. That's the 6Z. We go to the 0Z, east of Florida, 18Z, east of Florida, 12Z, east of Florida, 6Z, east of Florida. So doesn't that give you something? Doesn't that give you something interesting? The European has been very, 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 very consistent on its ensembles to be east of Florida. So what that also indicates is that it would be a little stronger. I mean, look at some of those low pressure centers. Let me see if I can. I don't know that I can zoom this product in, but 992, 996, 987, 992. So the European ensembles, at least, are trying to go a little stronger with this. I was told 5 will go as West. Army, thank you for that. um, it's interesting, right? The European ensembles are wanting to go stronger. I mean, we'll see, but based on that, and we're using the 6C, it's almost rapidly intensifying north of Hispaniola. Look, you've got okay, so you've got 1,005, 1,005, 1,004, 1,003. Let's go forward from 96 hours out. So that's going to be 2 a.m. Saturday morning. Let's go to 8 a.m. Saturday morning. 1,002, 1,005. Watch right there. Okay, you go to this is Sunday 2 a.m. and there's 998, 1,002, 996, 997, 993. So you're going from Saturday to Sunday into a rapidly intensifying scenario. I'm not saying this to scare you at all. I'm simply saying it's interesting that the European is showing kind of a rapid intensification cycle out over the Bahamas. I mean, waters are warm there, but I don't know about that. So it's interesting to me, but that's why the European ensemble is showing east of us consistently. But again, that consistency is there on the European side. If we go over to the GFS ensemble, you've got a completely different scenario. And to that point, consistency among models breeds confidence. The Europeans got what it thinks is its idea, but the GFS is not showing that. So we don't yet have that consistency breeds confidence situation. All right? So just keep that in mind. Charles says, good morning. Just offshore of the Keys this morning. A little mucky this morning, overcast and some showers. That system might extend our cruise a day if it blocks our path. Yeah, if it might. If it decides to do its thing, it might. All right, so that's that. Let's look at the Canadian. Pressure, normalized anomaly. All right, so here's the Canadian model. Right over Florida and then developing off the shoreline of the Carolinas. So, to me, I'm starting to at least see this idea of a signal very near Florida, probably pretty weak, and then strengthening as it pulls away. That's the signal that at least I'm seeing amongst the models this morning. Let's look at the Canadian ensembles. Yeah, look at the Canadian ensemble. Basically, from the Gulf to off of our coastline is where those ensemble members are showing. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff, right? There's a lot of different and just for fun, I haven't really looked at this much, but it's there, so might as well. This is the European deterministic AI model, whatever the heck that is. Yeah, developing off the East Coast, and then look at that, kind of throwing something else out there. So anyway, at this point, I'm just gonna say, like, I think we're probably going to have some rain this weekend, a rise of rain chances because of this thing. Do I think it's going to be a massive event for us? Probably not. Am I sad about that? 100% not. And again, I just reiterate, there are barely like that's the infrared. Let's just look at the visible. If you're hanging out on a boat, it's sunny outside. It'll be a little breezy, but it's sunny outside. Okay? So that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of things. Okay? If we look at ocean temperatures, I'm just, give it a second, it's loading. You can see I've got this built for the Tracking the Tropics show that we do today. Jeremy and I will be on at 10 a.m. this morning. It's plenty warm. Do I think it's rapid intensification warm out there? But, all right. So you can join us for Tracking the Tropics later to discuss all about that. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, right now, the Saharan dust is doing its thing, and as uh, as we push forward, we'll have to just kind of watch and see how this plays out. I think we're probably though going to get a bit of a rainy weekend. We'll see the exacts on this, but I think we're going to have a rainy weekend. All right. Samantha just got here. Would you reschedule your trip to Key West this weekend or would you power through? So what we haven't looked at, and it's still a little early, but we haven't looked at Futurecast because Futurecast will go out a couple days. Stand by. All right, so here's Futurecast. All right, hold on. All right, so let's just roll this. So there's the moisture from it. Yeah, I mean, that's nothing. No indicators. I mean, would I reschedule a trip to Key West? If it's easy to do and it's not going to be a pain in the neck, then, I probably would. Um, one way or another, we're going to just get some moisture move in our direction this weekend. So here's the forecast from Kellyanne, okay? We'll start here. And I would suspect that rain chance by the end of the 7-day forecast starts to dramatically increase. Yeah. Viviana, Eric, if it comes, can we please know when? My son is flying into Orlando Saturday afternoon. If it's better, he changes his flight to Wednesday the 7th. So I've been showing the models with the timing. We can do it again, but I'm telling you, Viviana, I got you. All right, hold on. Let's look at the models again. All right, we'll go back to the GFS. All right, this is the American GFS model. All right. So there it is, somewhere around South Florida. That is 2 a.m. Saturday. That is 2 a.m. Sunday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, depending on what model and all that fun stuff. If we look at the European ensembles, you know, that's Saturday 8 p.m. That's Sunday 2 p.m. Right? So it just depends on what model you're going with, that sort of thing. But yeah, somewhere around late Saturday through early Monday is kind of what we're looking at in terms of timelines. But again, that's the European ensemble. The Canadian ensemble's a little different, but the timing is all the same, right? That's Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday morning, probably like a Sunday morning time frame somewhere in the vicinity. All right. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the model data. All right. Now, time for questions. Dan, this is so great. Do you do this every day? Just about 7 days a week, my friend. Just about 7 days a week. Not every day. Like yesterday, I took the day off to go flying with family. All right. But yeah, 7 days a week, just about. I guess kayaking to Jamaica is out of the question for next week. Kayaking to Jamaica, like from Florida? Jamie says people forget that Florida needs the small tropical systems to thrive. It's true. It's so true. Our climate depends on it. Our climate actually depends on weak tropical systems. It really does. It really, really does. Yeah. We have a cruise Saturday, Bahamas. Will it be affected? It's possible, Lindsay. Yeah. I mean, because this thing is so weak, you can see it there in the bottom left corner of the screen, because it's so weak, the problem is it could do a number of different things. Weaker goes west, but it's too early. And again, and I this has kind of been the big focus that I've been mentioning all morning is like there is hardly clouds associated with it. So because of that, models are doing the best they can, but until you start getting what we call tropical cyclogenesis, or until you start to get actual development, the models are only going to be able to do what they can. And when it's weak, it's kind of like playing pin the tail on the donkey, as somebody said. It's not going to be a great forecast. It's going to be the best technology allows. Okay. And Sheila's asking, are all the sands gone? It's not that the sand is gone, the Saharan dust is gone, but we're going to be going in phase with the Madden-Julian oscillation. All right. So let's talk a little nerd here. All right. So this is the Atlantic Basin. All right. I'm going to remove that little box there for a second. Watch how everything is kind of in brownish, like neutral colors. But watch how the Gulf of Mexico is going to go bright green here, August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That MJO phase is giving lift, is giving spin. So once this gets into that green area, that's going to be the atmosphere charging on and allowing this to get going. Okay, so that's why I think the Hurricane Center has a pretty good idea that this is going to try. And frankly, it's going to try. It's going to become a something. How strong is it? It's too early to tell. But there's going to be a something here. Okay? Do I think this is going to be like a Cat 5 heading to Florida? I don't. Thank goodness. But do I do think that there's going to be a something to watch? Sure, the MJO goes in phase. You got a little piece of energy sneaking into a really favorable environment. So I do think that there's going to be something trying to sneak up. And that's why the development chance is there. But that's also why it's not like a potential tropical cyclone yet, because it's not going to we don't think it's going to rapidly become a Cat 6 or anything like that. Right? So, and then, and again, it kind of depends on what model you're looking at in terms of where it goes. I think the Canadian actually has a pretty decent handle. Like, it's like, it could go west of Florida, could go east of Florida. We don't really know. It's gotta love tropics. Yeah. I'm in an RV in Wildwood. Will I be okay in it? I mean, at this point, we're watching. We're not in any kind of an action mode. We're just watching. But we need to stay dialed in. That's all. Rita, does the jet stream play a role in this? Absolutely, it does. Yeah, everything plays a role. Even down to like the Bermuda High. Like we talk about last year's storms and how they loved to recurve. Last year, it was a weaker Bermuda High, so they loved to recurve. This year, the concern is the fact that it's a stronger Bermuda High, and so because of that, they're going to want to be more U.S. type threats. And so that's kind of the big idea looking at this year's pattern, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Could go east, could go west. How very Canadian. Yeah, I know. It's very polite, not wanting to offend. What about the South Carolina coast and timing? Tim, the problem is at this point, we can't zero in on any kind of specifics other than this weekend. Like late this weekend into early next week would be the timing, wherever it tries to go. Outside of that, yeah. Yeah. Elliot, I looked up the MJO and the initial explanation for something I'm starting to learn about was a little overcomplicated. Can you explain the MJO like an elementary school student? Yeah. So, and I think that this model plot really does a good job of that, okay? So think of the Madden-Julian oscillation as where the atmosphere gives you a little bit of added spin and a little bit of added lift. So for example, right now, there's a little bit of energy over Africa, but once it leaves Africa, it can't really get going. It's very much suppressed right now. But watch how looking into August 1st and August 2nd, we get that spin and that lift around Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. We could sneak something up. Then looking down the way, things should be shut off again for the most part through the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, and then look at how the Madden-Julian oscillation goes way in phase around the 15th. I could tell you right now, and this is just atmospherics. This is just atmospherics. By about the 14th, 15th, I could mark your calendars. if this plays out, we're going to be tracking some strong tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa. Because if it's going in phase and then does it sustain itself once it gets into the Atlantic, we'll see. But that's kind of the idea of things. All right. So the Madden-Julian oscillation, just think of it as when you go in phase in a certain geographic area, you're going to get tropical stuff. That's just the way to look at it. Yeah. Deborah says, I think we'll only get rain from this, but that's my guess. You know what? That's probably the most likely scenario. B on YouTube says fake storm, stop hyping. That's your opinion. And just remember, opinions are like armpits. So there you go. All right. So that's kind of where we're at. But again, going back to my hyping, this is nothing. Wait, I thought I said you were hyping. You can't say this is nothing. That's not hyping. Oh, my bad. I missed that memo. Yeah, look at the satellite, though. It's nothing. That's why models are going back and forth. That's why they will always go back and forth. Until this starts really developing, you're just not going to get much of a decent forecast. It's just the way it goes. Mike, MJO, greens a go, browns a no. Oh, that's funny. I like that. I'll have to use that. I have to try to remember that on Coffee Talk. All right, questions, comments, concerns about the tropics. A reminder, 10 a.m. today, Jeremy Nelson and I are going to do a half an hour all about it. A half an hour all about the tropics. Turn the sass up to ludicrous speed. Warp 15. But Captain, I can only do warp 10. Engage. Any questions, comments, concerns? Ori Unchained. Where's the hype? This is opposite of hyping. That's all right. If there was no trolls, we couldn't have the internet. So, all right. Questions. 10 a.m., Lily. 10 a.m., 10 a.m. Tracking the tropics. 10 a.m., 10 a.m. You mean you don't earn your entire salary based on hyping storms? Believe it or not, no. And also, like, I'm on my own time. I'm not even at work yet. What? I'm doing this off work. I could watch. No more Wesh. You know? So anyway, all right, let's talk more tropics. Patty's asking, who is Jeremy? So Jeremy Nelson is, he's my partner in crime with the long range forecasting. He's my partner in crime with tracking the tropics Tuesdays. We do them every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Yeah, sister station. So good stuff. All right. All right. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. I will see you guys at 10 a.m. Until then, have a great morning. Grab some coffee. See you at 10.